Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Live, also YouTube Live, also Facebook Live. And Mike hates when I say it's on Facebook because Mike's not the biggest Facebook fan. I do have to tell you all, Mike last night did an amazing job at the Seattle SIM event. SIM is Society for Information Management, and gave a presentation about who is attacking you, from the Russians to North Koreans to activists to mercenaries. He lit up the crowd. Nice job, Mike.
Well, I mean, little intimate events like that at a distillery where I have a couple of bourbons before I talk is always going to, end well.
Well, I was going to ask you if you had a few sidecars there, but
Turns out I did.
That is not a surprise. Well, if anybody wants Mike to speak, just remember bourbon has to be there. It's a very important thing. Next week, Mike and I will be at the American Hospital Association Rural Conference in San Antonio, giving a talk with our good friend John Rigi at the American Hospital Association, and the speech is at 7:30 in the morning, I believe. And so bourbon might be hard to come by.
Right. But soon as I get done talking, I run to the airport to catch a flight to Orange County, California. And so on the plane,
Mike, clearly sick of the weather in Seattle. So speaking of healthcare, Mike, there is, there's a lot going on. We did a panel just yesterday on the healthcare data breach trend.
It was good.
An important trend is that the number of breaches going down, continuing to go down, but the number of records exposed going up.
Yeah. And did you see, we have thrown around a number, right? What's it cost to clean up, disclosed records? The number for the health sector right now is $500 a record.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. What else is going on in the health sector?
Let's see. There's a something called Go Anywhere, which is a file transfer application that you can use, and a lot of health sector was using that. Well, a vulnerability was announced last week. A 0-day exploit was released, and sure enough, health information for 1 million patients was stolen using that vulnerability. Oh. So I forget the name of the institution. Do you remember? I don't remember.
I don't. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then remember the meta tracking pixel that some hospitals use? They put on their patient portals to, assess, gather metrics on how it was used. Now they're getting sued for using that because it turns out the pixel scarfed up all kinds of stuff that they didn't want to send over to Facebook that got sent over to Facebook, and Facebook monetizes that stuff and sends it to brokers and things like that. So, people that access their health portal are now getting targeted ads based on information in the portal.
And how do you feel about Facebook, Mike?
Same way I always have.
All right. On a more serious note, one of the things we're going to be talking about next week is Russia and North Korea in the healthcare space.
Well, this is troubling too. In fact, there's another article I'll reference here, I think, in a second. But this KillNet group, we talk about they don't use very sophisticated techniques. This is denial of service attacks, website defacements, things like that. This is actually putting a strain on healthcare just with the denial of service. And the fact that, these are patriotic activists in Russia, and Russia doesn't seem to be doing well. They're backed into a corner. The DDoS and defacements are going to turn into the use of wipers and other things, I think, pretty soon. So really got to watch this. And then North Korea, I think it was the NSA that
was the NSA.
It was the NSA, right?
The NSA, and by the way, the NSA put it on their LinkedIn page. Okay. Gonna leave that right there, but go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Well, they're warning that North Koreans are going specifically after hospitals and remember, they actually steal money. This is not about espionage. This is not about strategic interests of the country. This is about stealing money. Healthcare, because it's critical, can't stand downtime. It's poorly protected because, their revenues have been hit and, they're all kind of financially underwater. This is the kind of thing that tips hospitals over permanently. So
which
what
is
do you do if a nation state's coming after you?
it's infuriating. It is infuriating that we are in this position, and it just makes me angrier and angrier. And I hope everybody listening is angry. Like, get angry. Like, if you're not angry about this stuff, like, that's not okay. Be angry. It's okay to be
Yeah.
angry. Like, this is it's terrorism. It is terrorism when somebody comes after a hospital. It is terrorism.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, Mike. Next topic. Otherwise, I'm going to get all red in the face.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, just to kind of pile on here, right?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, the health sector is the recipient of a lot of these false claims act enforcements, right? After you lose a bunch of records and they find out that your practices were not what you said they were, in terms of protecting that information, they come with a false claims act. Apparently, that was about $2 billion worth of enforcement in 2022. So they're serious about this. And then,
Yeah.
the other thing is, I mean, there's ransomware that we talk about a lot, etc. And FBI warns that, the Russians are going to use ransomware, a state-sponsored group going to use ransomware. It's actually BEC, business email compromise, where we lose the most money. And those are up 81%, according to one study. And all of these numbers that we report, right? These are all to put big error bars on these numbers, because it's all who reported it, where can we get, I mean, and a lot of this is just not reported, but still what we can measure, up 81%, that is a bad problem.
And hey, wait, I have a really, I have a really important thing to tell you about business email compromise, because there was somebody at the event last night who I had a long talk with, and they told me some things I didn't know about business email compromise. And that is, okay, so obviously, if you wire money away and you wire it to, a bad guy's account at a, let's call it a legitimate bank, what he said happens is immediately that money, hits that bank and then gets wired to like 20 Chinese banks or 20 banks in the Bahamas, or, it gets split up. So it's hard to track. Right. So one of the things he told me is sometimes that bank will actually hold that money for a period of time before, if because it sees that as suspicious. Right. And so if you believe that you've fallen victim to business email compromise, you want to call ASAFP. F stands for feasibly, that bank, your bank, the other bank, because they might still be holding your money. He told me about an organization that actually was able to get its money back by checking with that other bank. So that's I had not thought
It's good
of
to
that.
know.
It's good to know, right? All right,
And
Mike,
it
what else
makes
is
sense,
yeah.
because banks have pretty good fraud detection stuff in place at this point. So I can see, hey, this money hit and now it's trying to go to a whole bunch of places. That is a pattern that we've seen before.
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me to look up the, bad guy gives you a routing number. That's a fake, that's a different bank's routing number, right? It had not occurred to me that you should get in touch with that second bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fake bank. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but it's a real bank. But
Well, it's a real bank, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's going on?
Just one good thing about all this ransomware stuff.
Yeah.
Did you hear the Hive ransomware gang got melted by the FBI?
I did. I love when the
Lockbit
FBI.
maybe next.
I love when the FBI actually takes action.
So do I.
We've been calling for that for years.
We talk about a lot of bad things. That's a good thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Locally, Edmonds School District lost a whole bunch of records, staff, students, parents, right? And this again is going to raise the question of, well, if lawsuits are going to follow this, aren't we just suing ourselves? I mean, it's tax money. I don't think that's going to happen. I actually don't think that's going to happen. I think schools may be, exempt from those suits, but certainly, regulatory oversight for, FERPA, because you're not supposed to disclose anything about students. City of Oakland is also crushed right now. Systems, I think, still offline. They got ransomware. Let's see what on the upside, the grant money is starting to flow, and 2 states, and I believe there's South Dakota and, surprising no one, Florida, said they were just not going to participate. They're not going to take the money. So the money that was allocated to those 2 states goes back into the pot, and now that'll increase the allocation for the other state. I have no idea why they would not participate in this. They have better idea. Go ahead. Go ahead. There is a national cyber strategy coming. And as exactly you and I have discussed and predicted, it's going to be predicated on the critical sectors and the fact that there are sector-specific agencies that can go through a rulemaking process, right? Starting with like TSA and pipelines and EPA and water and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
But as we also discussed, with a new incoming party that's controlling the House of Representatives now, they are wary of a regulatory role for CISA. Now, CISA cannot regulate, right? But it's this rulemaking process where they can influence.
Hmm.
So this is going to be an interesting. It's not going to be a fist fight, but it's going to be a lot of scrutiny of how regulated CISA is trying to get the critical sectors to be. And on again, a positive note, the incoming chair of the House Department of Homeland Security Committee is talking about exactly what you and I have talked about before, and that is treating our logical border as our fifth border. That's the
Hmm.
wording that he used. The wording I have used is treat our logical border like a physical border, which creates joke material right away. But if they're thinking about that, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of, forward thinking I think we need. So I'm in favor of that. So that's a bunch of stuff happening in government.
Yep. Threats and vulns, Mike. What do you got for threats and vulns today?
Let's see. Patch Chrome, because we can always say that. Microsoft, we say it every time.
Patch.
It's like the multi-state ISAC lives to tell us about patching Chrome. That's
Yeah.
kind of um, embedded in the Patch Tuesday dump we just got with 77 fixes or something like that in it. There's one in there that's a Microsoft Word remote code execution vulnerability that has to do with all you have to do is use the preview pane and boom, they got you. Now, there's no exploit for this, and they do not believe that it's been exploited, but the message here is, get your stuff patched. OpenSSL has they're calling it high severity. It's a data stealing vulnerability. Got to get that patched. And I think there's 3 variants that need to be patched.
Hmm.
SSL is all over the place. Everybody's got like 12
Hmm.
variations they have to maintain. Remember, we talked about the ESXi VMware vulnerability, which was being exploited. Well, CISA released a decryption tool to help people, and right away they came up with a new exploit. So that's still going on. And by golly, if you haven't patched something that's you were told about 2 years ago, you're probably in trouble already.
Hmm.
Uh, WordPress sites have been infected with malware that's really hard to remove because it's really hard to detect, and we're going to see more of that. We talked about that Go Anywhere
Oh yeah.
0 day, right? The exploit was just released last week, and in addition to the 1 million records that were stolen from whatever health sector institution, I can't remember, the Clop ransomware gang
Hmm.
says that they breached 130 organizations with that. So that just tells you what your patching cadence needs to be like, or what compensating controls should be if there is no patch and they say this is a vulnerability and the exploit has been released. You got to do something,
Yeah.
because if you're just hanging out there and there's no patch yet, they're going to get you.
I mean, you need to be scanning for vulnerabilities regularly. When there's a big patch, you have to do it as an emergency.
Yeah, that's an incident, right?
It's an incident, right? I mean, hurry. I mean, well, I was talking to Fred about this, and he was saying, yeah, it used to be quarterly, and then it was monthly. Now
Hmm.
it's right now. Do it right now,
Right now, yeah,
right now. Hmm.
because the bad guys are that good.
Yeah, sadly.
Last one is there's a lot of talk about critical infrastructure and how close we got to actually having our grid taken down by the Russians the way the Ukrainians did. Now there are some wireless IoT devices that are used a lot in the telemetry, collecting data for SCADA systems, things like that. You got to look that one up, because that is an entry point into your operational technology, and we're all really worried about that stuff. It's interesting that Armis, which is a partner company of ours, one that does monitoring of operational technologies, right? Programmable logic controllers, things like that. Um, they are, I forget exactly what the wording was, but they are one of the fastest companies to ever reach $100 million in annual recurring revenue because the uptake has been, pretty good of their technology. And it's all about operational technology because we're starting to freak out about
Yeah, I
this.
know a lot of great people at Armis. They do a really nice job.
Yep.
And last night at this event, got into a really deep discussion about operational technology and how different, how hard it is to monitor. So yeah, I mean, a very, very important thing. And when we talk about OT, Mike, it's ports, it's ports, it's dams, it's all sorts of stuff.
Makes your toilet flush.
Not mine. No, mine just flushes. I push a
Do you still
lever.
have an outhouse?
I don't. And if I did, based on the problems in my neighborhood right now, it would be surrounded by coyotes.
They're wily.
They are, and they attack with Acme. So, all right, Mike. At the end of all these, you do something to make us laugh, make us smile, make us think deeper. Can you make us smile today?
I don't
Are
know.
you? Because so
This is
far,
well,
not so
it's
far.
actually kind of a sad story, but you know, so we like to think, we live in a really nice state. Washington is a really nice place to live.
Washington's a great place to live. Great state.
And we have just come out in a top 10 ranking, um, where I think we could do a little better. So Washington is number 7 in the states with the most catfishing victims.
Oh,
And the astonishing thing to me is that the average victim, the cost of the average victim, what they give up is close to
yeah.
$50,000. Okay.
Oh,
That is astonishing, man. So look, so we got to up our game.
yeah.
You're going to have to get that number way up.
Yeah.
Um, Interestingly, the 3 top states who fall more for this kind of scam than Washingtonians are Alaska, Nevada, and Wyoming. So we definitely need to beat Alaska. They're our northern neighbor up here, and if we're going to compete with Alaska, we're really going to have to up the game. So, you know, all of those pretty pictures of women, they're all real. They really do want to get interested in you and start a relationship. So send them some money.
Oh God, Mike, that's what a Valentine's Day story.
It was time to come out on Valentine's Day.
Of course it was. Of
Of
course it
course it
was.
was.
I look forward to sending you some roses, and then maybe you can just send me back some money. Hey, somebody
Some money.
asks in the comment, which state is the least fished? Do you know?
It didn't say in
It
the.
didn't say.
No, this it's not that kind of article. When you get articles from like the Register,
Yeah.
um, they're more about irony than completeness.
All right, fine. And it's
But if
funny.
we had to guess, what would you guess?
I don't know because I just Googled it to see if I could answer this person's question, and the first thing that came up was the record catfish catch. So I think that it means a different kind of catfish.
I think it does.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. What would you guess? I would guess. Um, I suppose I would not guess on intelligence. I would guess on a state that has a lower number of people using dating apps or using connection apps. That would be my guess.
I'm thinking it's like a Vermont or something like that.
Is it by
Yeah,
number or by percent?
well, probably by number. Just because it's kind of a hippie state. I just don't. Vermont is my guess.
Okay, Vermont, you guess. Well, we're going to look this up and we will not
We will
report
get
back
back
to
to you
you
on
all
this.
because you
Yes,
all can, you know what? We're all going to use Chat GPT. We're going to go ask Chat GPT
that's a good idea.
because AI can solve everything. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
And Mike, I'll see you later.
See ya. Bye.